Conditional sentences can be frustrating if you let them. If you keep it simple, the grammar will be clear. Hi, I'm Jennifer, and in this lesson, I'll give you a simple way to view conditionals. It will make communication much easier. Together, we can go through different kinds of conditional sentences to see what doubts you may have, okay? I'll be asking you some questions along the way, so when I do, pause the video and write your answer in the comments for practice. Conditional sentences are often made with the word if, but there are other ways to express conditions in English. Here's the basic structure. Condition plus result. That's it. Example, if you tell me a good joke, I'll laugh. Can we switch the order? Yes. I'll laugh if you tell me a good joke. So the two possible structures are condition plus result or result plus condition. The condition is most often expressed with if. We call this the if clause. When the if clause comes first, we need a comma. When the result clause comes first, we don't need a comma. I say clause because usually the two parts are two complete ideas, each with a subject and a verb. There are exceptions. The trickiest part of forming conditionals is with the verbs. Here's another easy way to think of conditionals. They're either real or unreal. That's it. If you like the numbering system and it works for you, great. But I think some learners do better without calling them 0, first, second, and third conditionals. I like to approach this logically and practically. Are we expressing a real or unreal situation? Examples. If I see a snake on the path, I quickly walk in the opposite direction. If I saw a mouse in my bedroom, I'd scream at the top of my lungs. Looking at these two sentences, can you tell which one is real and which one is unreal? Have I seen a snake while walking? Have I seen a mouse in my bedroom? The answer, sentence A, is real. It's pretty much the same as saying, when I see a snake. This sometimes happens in warmer weather. Sentence B is unreal. I'm only imagining a possibility. When we express real or likely situations, we use the tenses, the verb forms that make the most sense. Present for present, past for past, and future for future. But when we imagine a situation or talk hypothetically, our brain is working more. This is also when we have to work a bit more with the verb forms. Let's go through the different types of conditional sentences, okay? Keep in mind the basic structure has two parts, condition plus result. And conditional sentences will either be real or unreal. Real conditionals about the present. General truths and habits can be written in the present tense. If Jennifer sees a snake, she goes in the opposite direction. This is similar to time clauses with when or whenever. When Jennifer sees a snake, she goes in the opposite direction. Whenever Jennifer sees a snake, she goes in the opposite direction. The use of a time clause acknowledges that yes, this situation happens sometimes. Note that we can use the present progressive as well if it's necessary to talk about an action in progress. If I'm walking with my dog and I see a snake, I quickly head in another direction. We also use the present tense for advice. If you see a snake, don't approach it. If you see a snake, you shouldn't approach it. If you see a snake, you can avoid any problems by walking away. Note the different possibilities in the result clause. Question: do you know what we should do if we see a bear in the wild? Go ahead and tell me what you know in the comments. Use if. Real conditionals about the past. This type is often overlooked, but it exists, and we sometimes use it. For example, let's talk about real past events, situations that happened sometimes. Back in school, if I didn't have much time for breakfast at home, I ate something on the school bus. Back in college, if we didn't have time to eat lunch in the dining hall, we could order a bagged lunch the day before. The past tense is used in both clauses, and we can use could for past ability. Question: if you did something wrong in your youth, what did you do to make your parents less angry? Feel free to share in the comments. For example, if I broke something, I apologized. Well, if I broke something and got caught, I apologized. Real conditionals about the future. Real or likely conditions about the future are expressed differently. Do you remember how we use adverb clauses of time? Which sentence is correct? When I've finished my homework today, I'll probably relax by reading a book. When I'll finish my homework today, I'll probably relax by reading a book. Answer A. Time clauses about the future use the present tense. We cannot use will in a future time clause. That's a rule we have to follow. It's the same thing with if clauses about the future. If I have time later tonight, I'll read another chapter in my book. Will I have time tonight? Yes, it's likely, or at least it's possible. So the if clause uses the present tense, and the result clause uses a future form, will or be going to. Could we use other modal verbs? Sure. We can use may or might, especially if we're less certain about the result. If I have time later tonight, I might read another chapter in my book. So I'm not entirely certain whether I'll have time or not tonight. And if there is time, I'm also questioning how I'll use it. I might read. I may do something else. If I have time, maybe I'll read, but I may choose to watch TV, or I might play the piano. Question: what will you do this weekend if you end up having a lot of free time? Tell me in the comments. Another word you must be familiar with is unless. We often use it in real conditionals, and it means if not. Unless you're sick, you have to go to work every day. In other words, if you're not sick, you have to go. Unless you have a fever, you'll have to go to work tomorrow. Meaning, if you don't have a fever. Unless I had a fever, I was expected to go to school. Here I'm referring to my childhood, a real past situation. Meaning, if I didn't have a fever, I was expected to go. Question: is there something you're expected to do unless there are special circumstances? For example, generally speaking, in the U.S., you're expected to recycle unless a recycling program is not available in your town. Could we use unless in unreal conditionals? Yes. But first, let's keep it simple and look at unreal conditionals with if. Unreal conditionals about the present or future. For different reasons, we imagine possibilities. Sometimes we consider how life could be or would be different. If we didn't have the internet, we wouldn't have social media. If I gave up social media, I couldn't teach you through video. What's the reality? Do we have the internet? Of course we do. And social media is part of your life and mine. In order to imagine the present or future in a different way or an unlikely way, we have to backshift the verb. The present shifts to the past in the if clause. Note that with the verb be, we use were for all subjects when we're reimagining the present or future. You will hear American English speakers use was, and it's okay in everyday English, but were is best for unreal conditionals. Again, I can use a progressive form too. If I weren't teaching on YouTube, I would likely be in a traditional classroom. The result clause can use would or another modal verb. Question: if social media weren't available, how would your life be different? Tell me in the comments. Unreal conditionals about the past. If you watched my lesson on reported speech, you'll recall how the simple past shifts to the past perfect. It's similar in unreal conditionals about the past. Again, imagining things differently, especially counterfactually, takes brain power. We're reimagining the past. We have to change the simple past to the past perfect, and the past progressive to the past perfect progressive. If I hadn't started my channel back in 2007, I would have returned to the classroom. If I had been sleeping better in my early years on YouTube, I might have improved my filming and editing faster. I was a young mother of 2 at that time. What's happening in the result clause? We use perfect modals, would have done, might have done, etc. We form perfect modals with modal verb plus have plus the past participle. Question: you know who Elvis Presley is, right? If Elvis Presley had lived longer, would he have had a world tour? What do you think? I like to think yes. Mixed conditionals. Sometimes we mix time frames when we imagine how a different past would lead to a different present or future. We're creating unreal situations in our mind. If I had stayed in the cruise line industry, I would be working in some exotic location right now. If I had accepted a different job offer, I wouldn't be a teacher today. In the if clause, think about the pattern needed for backshifting. The simple past shifts to the past perfect. And we also have to go from affirmative to negative or negative to affirmative. In the result clause, modal verbs are used. Would, could, might. Would be working or wouldn't be. A guideline to remember is that will and would are not usually friends with if. We generally do not use will or would in the if clause. There are other types of conditionals, like inverted and implied. In these kinds of sentences, words are omitted, but everyone still understands the full condition. Take a look. Had I known he didn't like Italian food, I would have cooked something else. This is a more formal way of saying if I had known. Should you need help, call me. Again, this is a more formal way of saying if you need help. Were I a billionaire, I could set up scholarships. This is a more formal way of saying, if I were a billionaire. Are you interested in additional lessons on this topic? If so, I'll create more. If so refers back to the first idea. If interested, you can check out my older lessons on conditional sentences. This means if you are interested. So question, would you like more lessons on conditional sentences? If yes, tell me in the comments. I hope you're feeling more confident about conditionals. Please check out the full playlist on this topic. The best place for interaction and feedback is in my English with Jennifer community on Patreon, where we practice all skills for confident, effective communication. The link is in the video description. That's all for now. Thanks for watching and happy studies.